In November, Bitcoin reached an all-time high of $64,600. Just a few months before El Salvador became the first country in the world to make Bitcoin legal tender. The market value of all cryptocurrencies recently broke $2 trillion. Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are an example of fintech. Fintech are technological innovations that affect financial services. For example, we can now get loans directly from other people using crowdfunding platforms rather than through banks. Similarly, buying shares used to be a quite complicated procedure. Now there are robo-advisors and buying shares can be done in a few clicks with a mobile app. One of the banking sector's top priorities is digitalization. If banks don't keep up with the latest tech trends, they risk losing customers to low-cost, digitized competitors. The Bank of England is also impacted by fintech. The bank has the following objectives: to implement monetary policy, to keep inflation low, to ensure financial stability, to supervise the banking system, and ensure the smooth running and operation of the payment system. Fintech could affect all these objectives in different ways. Let's start with monetary policy. Central banks have traditionally implemented monetary policies through banks. When inflation is going up, the Bank of England would increase the interest rate that it charges commercial banks to borrow from it. Peer-to-peer lending would mean that banks are no longer involved in the lending process. If crowdfunding were to become a significant part of the lending market, the monetary policy transmission mechanism would be altered. Also, to the extent that crowdfunding platforms involve the collection of deposits, the bank has the obligation to protect consumers and depositors and ensure that they are aware of the risks. This brings us onto the effects that fintech will have on the bank's mission for financial stability and supervision. Fintech is leading a lot of improvements, expanding access to finance, saving people's times, and reducing costs. The challenge for the Bank of England is to maximize the benefits of fintech while minimizing the potential risks for the financial system. However, fintech developments present issues that are beyond the traditional scope of financial authorities, and the speed of innovation makes it difficult for regulators to respond in a timely manner. Fintech lenders, if subject to lower regulatory requirements than traditional banks, despite carrying the same risks, will end up gaining an unfair competitive advantage. With increasing use of online services and outsourcing of data storage and processing to the cloud, results in cyber risks and concentration risks. The collapse of the cryptocurrency market could also lead to financial stability concerns. Lastly, I would like to talk about central bank digital currencies. With increasing use of digital payments using Visa, Apple Pay, PayPal, and new so-called stablecoins, there will be less of a need for banknotes and coins. If all payments in the future are performed digitally by a couple big US tech companies, the UK could lose control over its payment system. Imagine what would be the devastating impact on the economy if one of these companies were to suddenly experience a major technical problem, cyber attack, or even default. Banknotes and coins are not going to disappear from use overnight, but if the bank wants to build a safe alternative, it needs to start thinking of solutions already now. There are many issues to consider. For example, in which areas should a central bank digital currency be used? For consumer-to-consumer transactions, for transactions between banks, or for cross-border transactions? What technology would be used for processing the transactions? The bank's existing payment infrastructure for large payments could be reused in theory, but would use of blockchain technology also make sense? Who would provide the front end and deal with customer support? Would the bank outsource this to commercial banks? It is difficult to imagine someone calling a Bank of England hotline to explain about a fraudulent transaction or loss of card. And what about privacy? Will there be additional checks on high-value transactions which may be conducted by money launderers? Cyber attacks would also be a major concern. To conclude, many different aspects of the Bank of England's mission will be affected by fintech, but most importantly on the digital payment side. It will be important for the bank to devote resources to monitoring all these developments, understanding the new business models, and assessing what should be the response. Creating and operating a digital currency will be a significant investment, but the time to start investigating is now. The Bank of England will need to recruit more experts in information technology and fintech, and also consult with other central banks to get their experience.